All right, we are back. Let me get my thing going here. And we're live on Amazon now, too. So we've got about an hour. So we'll see how much we can get through in an hour here. And what we're looking at now are some of the laptop deals, at least the laptops that I have in my possession. So I've got this one. And this is the Lenovo Chromebook Flex. And let me get stuff set up here. So this is the IdeaPad Flex 5. And this is running Chrome OS. Now this one is the i5 version. And the one that's the least expensive, let me pull this up real quick here, because there are two of them. So this is, this is the i3 version. So there's two available. And to be honest with you, like there's a 249 and a 279. So you'll see one that's 249. This one is the 279 one, which I think is a much better deal. So if you were in the market for a Chromebook, I think this is a good price. So it's an i3. It's got a 1115 G4. Yeah, and this is a 2-in-1, so you have some tablet functionality. I don't think it comes with a pen. I don't see it garaged in here. But if you had a compatible pen, it would work. But it is running, as of course, Chrome OS. And give me 1 second here to get my self-combobulated here and pull up our chat questions. And if you have questions, leave them in the chat. And we'll get cooking on here. And let's go back to the chat here. Yes, we're going to probably have one more stream later this evening with a bunch of odds and ends. So Joe Tyson is here. Cooler King is here. Jenny is here. Lee is here. Recipe Bob is here. And Nick Versopa from Slovenia is here as well. We're all over the world. We are an international sensation. So we're going to look at this one. And I got another one here also. This is, and I didn't realize I hadn't taken this out of the box yet. So this is the HP Envy, and this is on sale today also. This is the X360 convertible, and this one has, of course, is running Windows, and it is powered by a Ryzen 55 something or other, a 5825. And this is also a 2-in-1. So let me unbox this real quick, and we'll have both here to look at. I thought Jake had started on this one, but I must have not given it to Jake. And I think I was holding on to this because it is sold on Amazon. So I like to always kind of run through benchmarks and stuff. So this one might reappear in another stream shortly. And this is on loan from HP. And this came in for a review a little while back. So this one obviously is a little bit larger. It's a 15-inch device. And let's see here. Oh, yeah, so I think I'm getting a Pixel Watch in. So I will give you my thoughts on that when I see it. But I think it's going to be a nice product. And I guess Google is giving them away with the Pixel phones. So you have that as an option. Yeah, so this is a big laptop. This is a 15-inch. And yeah, it's a little bit on the heavier side. But what I like about, so I guess these are two different products, really. So first of all, the price on the Chromebook is a great deal. This is $279. And I don't know what it costs normally, but this is a nicely performing Chromebook. And I've got it with Linux installed already on it. And you also have a nice little webcam shutter here at the top. So it's got a lot of flexibility. Let me go put that one back up on the screen here. And what I'll do is just run through some of the things that I already reviewed this one, so we've got this going on. So you can check out the review on the Amazon page. But the price point, I think, especially for the i3 one. Now there's another one that they're selling at, let's see, I'm just looking through the deal page here. So this is $279. There's another one for— but here's my suggestion, is that This one is the better deal for a couple of reasons. One, it has more RAM. Two, it has more storage. And three, it's got a faster processor, and it's only $30 more. So it's kind of a no-brainer in my book here. And this is, oh, my HP is talking to us here. So let me get this one going too as we're talking here. So I would say if you were in the market for a Chromebook, this is probably the one to get today because it is performing at a much greater level of performance, and it's got more storage and RAM. And the RAM is important now on Chromebooks, primarily because you've got now the Linux component to it. So here, I'll go back into my Linux thing here. Let's close this out real quick. What's going on with Linux? Where did my terminal go? That's weird. It was sitting at the terminal prompt for a while, and now it's just kind of back to this thing. There's a back button somewhere I gotta hit. There we go. Give me 1 second. I'm multitasking here. So we'll get this Windows laptop cooking at the same time. And I'll plug in power to this one. And I don't have all the specs on the HP yet, but this one's a pretty good deal too. Now the HP is running with a Ryzen processor. It does not have Thunderbolt on board though, so you will be a little limited, and it's USB 3 and not 4. But give me a second here to get myself situated. So George is here from Denmark. Sam is here from Indiana. William Wilkinson is here as usual. Gadget Guy from Key West. So William said he turned off the percentage on the battery, and that stopped the drainage issue. So that's kind of weird that the battery indicator would... Yeah, I thought I had heard that Google was giving away the watch with a Pixel purchase. Hey, Kalu. Chag Sameach to you as well. That's right, it was Sukkot yesterday, wasn't it? Or is it today? I have no idea. I don't know whether I'm coming or going anymore. Recipe Bob is here, and Finn is here as well. So, what's the big deal with Chromebooks now? Well, what I like about Chromebooks and why I would say you want more memory and storage. Oops, sudo apt install LibreOffice. The reason why you want more storage and RAM now is because of the Linux capability. And what I like about what Google is doing with Chrome OS is that you've got this containerized Linux now that runs on the system. So if you are not keen on being tied to the web for everything, you can actually install what I'm doing here, an Office suite that you can use to run things locally. And there's a lot of open source software that can just get installed right on the Chromebook here. And so having the amount available storage and the memory is kind of more important now than it used to be. And Turbo's getting a Steam Deck. I'm very happy with my Steam Deck. I'm using it more and more lately. It's a great little system. The battery life, not so great. So you got to keep a power with you there. And Mike is here from Pittsburgh. Yeah, so the two laptops we're looking at today are not inclusive of all the laptops that they have, but definitely check it out. So Zam, are you referring to Chrome OS? So yeah, I did a video on that a couple of months ago on Chrome OS Flex, which oddly enough, I was just thinking about this morning. Chrome OS Flex installs on old Windows and Macs easier than it installs on old Chromebooks. So my mother had an Asus Chromebook that's now out of support, and I cannot get that thing easily into an installable state, unfortunately. So I got to work on that a little bit more. Now, what I'm doing right now is I'm installing the LibreOffice suite on this Chromebook. And this is basically like an equivalent to Microsoft Word, but it's all free and open source. So for example, we've got a word processor. We can load up a spreadsheet application. And these function just kind of like the Microsoft ones do, except this is running on your Chromebook for free. And the files are stored locally. So you have that level of flexibility, which you didn't really have on Chrome up until about 2 years ago. So it's a nice alternative if you wanted to get out of the Microsoft space, or if you wanted a computer. Let's put it this way, like when you're traveling, do you want to have a computer that costs $5,000, or maybe something for less than $300 that you can afford to lose, but has has enough horsepower to do some stuff there? But yeah, definitely check out the Flex video. It's pretty good. I'm pretty impressed with how Chrome OS Flex is working. And Poorly Buffalo points out that you can have multiple Linux containers now, so you can have a lot of additional isolation, right? And all the more reason for more RAM on board. Now, one of the things with Chrome OS is that it is very friendly now for tablet operations. So if I flip this around, you can see now that we're in tablet mode. And so let's say I go over to the web browser, and I've got some options now for input. So I have the keyboard that pops up here. But if I had a pen, I could go here and just start writing. So I could write. Oops, I typed in NASA, but it didn't. Let's try it again. There we go. So I can just type in, right? Isn't that cool? So they've made some real progress here on having this work kind of more as a tablet. And then the other thing, of course, is that it has the Google Play Store front and center. So you can install your apps on here in addition to your Chrome stuff. So if we go top charts, say top free, and we'll do Among Us. Let's try that real quick. Let's do a quick install here. And so what it's doing right now is actually downloading an Android game onto here. And this will work a lot like it would on an Android tablet. Mark Shorty. So I've talked to Elias Saba about this question, Mark. And he says that, I'll get to Nick's question in a second on Amazon. Elias says CPU, yes, GPU, no. So I think graphically the Shield is still going to have the edge, but we'll find out when we get the device in. I do have one on order. So Nick wants to know, can you run the Dolphin emulator on here? You can. The Android version will run on here. And I have found that the Intel Chromebooks can be a little problematic with it. So I would say it's not ideal. Like if you were going to spend, I would, if you were looking to do a lot of emulation, I would look probably at a lower cost Windows device, just from the compatibility standpoint, because the Windows version of Dolphin is going to perform better than the Android one will on Intel. All right, so here we go. Do a quick little Among Us thing here. All right. I'm not sure what's going on with this. There we go. Confirm. Okay. Jeez. That performs pretty good. Now, I am using this as like one big tablet here, right? But this is the Android version. So you've got like all these games that you can just throw on it, you know, through the Chrome OS using Google Play. And then if you have games that you purchased on your phone, there's a good chance those games will show up here as well. I can just kill it there. I think I can quit it maybe. Let's see. Yeah, I'm not sure if that's how you get rid of stuff or not. Let me do that. Oh, there we go. Just do that. And so that's tablet mode. And then when you take it out of tablet mode, here I'll leave it in tablet mode and then take it out. And then when you take it out of tablet mode, it goes back into the desktop metaphor. So it kind of flips back and forth. And yeah, I would agree with Poorly Buffalo here. Because there is a lot of compatibility issues with games that, a lot of the games don't port over very well. And recipe, yeah, it's getting longer and longer. And hey, Matthew Burden, we're actually just getting started. I only have about an hour before I have to jump off because I got to pick my kid up from school. So Nick says, I love SSX Tricky for the GameCube, and the emulation works really well with Dolphin. Yeah, so I think you probably want to go Intel on that front. But that's where the other laptop on the list today, oops, this one here, the HP would probably do better, because this one, of course, has the horsepower. And bear with me for 1 second here. So we're just getting Windows set up on it now. I thought I had sent this to Jake, but actually I was holding this one back because it's sold on Amazon, and I was going to do a live stream kind of getting it configured. Now this, of course, is a more expensive laptop. So this one's $279. This one I think is $680. But it delivers a lot more performance for Windows applications in particular. Sam wants to know, does Pokemon Go work? Let's try that real quick. Let's see. I don't have a lot of hopes that that will. Pokemon. Yeah, it's not even available. So what you'll find, and one of the things that you can do is you can just search through Google Play. If you don't see it, it means it's not compatible. Let's go. So there is this Pokemon Unite game, but not Pokemon Go. Yeah, it's not on there. All right, so I'm going to sign in on this one real quick. You know what I'll do, actually, while we're doing this, is I will get some of our initial testing done with this while we're at it here. Now, on the Chromebook, as we finish setting this one up, give me 1 second here. Okay, almost there. It's a lot to set up on these Windows machines now. Windows 11 is a very different setup procedure. All right, hang on 1 more second here. Skip for now. They're really trying to get you to buy a whole bunch of stuff on these things. All right, almost there. Now we got the updates, which take forever. So we'll let that update. Now, as far as ports go, on this one, and I reviewed this already, and you'll find the review on my Amazon on the product page. But you've got a full-service USB-C port here, so this will do video out in addition to power and data. You have a USB-A port, headphone jack, and then you've got your SD card slot there, so you can augment its onboard storage. I don't know if the SD card slot is working on Linux yet. And then on the other side, you get another full-service USB-C port. So it's a good deal, I think. So I don't know if they're ever going to, I guess it would be worth a shot, but there's a lot of drivers that have to come into play with that too, right? So I'm not sure how the eGPU would work with it. So Jacob says, my Chromebook won't turn on. I don't know what kind of Chromebook you have. That will help. We need to know what kind of Chromebook you've got. And Tim's got one. Yeah, you know what's nice about Chrome OS? Here's where I'm at with it. It doesn't degrade over time. Like, it tends to just work because it is a simpler operating system. So, you know, like my mother had a Chromebook for 6 or 7 years, and I never got a call about it, ever. My dad with a Windows computer all the time. So it's a lot less maintenance. Alicia wants to know, is it better to get a laptop or a PC? You know, these days, I would say for most people, get the laptop. And the reason is that there's not much of a performance disparity. Now, I'm going to caveat this. There's not much of a performance disparity between a laptop and a desktop computer, provided you're not into the heavy-duty gaming, okay? So what's nice about these USB-C devices, even this Chromebook, is that you can get a docking station for the USB-C port, and you can plug it in, and you don't have to even get anything all that expensive. You can get something like, maybe something like this. So what you do is you plug it in, you kind of leave this at the desk. You have power running into it, and then when you get to your desk, you have a monitor and a keyboard connected. You just plug in this one cable, it powers the laptop, the monitor comes up, and you can use it as a desktop. So for me, I have a desktop PC for my gaming setup upstairs for the virtual reality because I need all that power. But my general workflow with my Macs, I have a MacBook Pro and a MacBook Air. And the MacBook Pro, most of the time, is docked to one of these, you know, a Thunderbolt docking station. And the performance disparity is really not significant between a MacBook Pro, for my purposes, and, you know, one of the desktop Macs that are running with a similar processor. So I would say you have the flexibility, because the nice thing is, I'll give you a great example. So tomorrow I'm going to I'm taking a quick trip into the city, into New York, for an event in the evening, and I'm going to bring my laptop with me. So I don't have to have 2 computers, I have one, and I can take it, bring it with me on the train, and get all my work done. Everything's in the same place. When I get home, redock it. So it's just important to have a good backup if you're going to be doing that. Zam says, I assume you can No, I don't think you can sideload APKs just yet on Chrome OS. I might be mistaken. I don't believe that was something that was doable up until recently. So battery. I have to look and see what the claims are on these. This one, I think this one's probably good for, this one's good for about 6 or 7 hours-ish. And it's getting harder and harder to talk about battery life, because one of the challenges you run into with battery life is that everyone approaches computing differently these days. So if you're playing a game on it, so Steam Deck's a great example. You're playing a game that's really working the Steam Deck, you're going to maybe get 2 hours out of it, right? If I ran a word processor, you know, that would be it. And Wolf makes a good point. If you don't know why you need a desktop, then you don't need a desktop. I think that's exactly it. So back in, like, when I first was getting into this stuff, into computers, the laptops had a significant performance disparity with the desktop. And that, even like in the mid-90s, it started changing, right? But I mean, for the most part, if you had a laptop, it could not perform at the same level that a desktop could. I would say that gap started closing in the early 2000s. I had a laptop I still have it over there, in 1998 that I got, that worked exceptionally well versus my desktop. I was so surprised by how well it performed versus the desktop. But at the time, my desktop had a 3D accelerator card for the games, and my laptop didn't. And that's not as big of a deal anymore, because a lot of the gaming laptops now do really well. So that's something to think about. But yeah, these Chromebooks are great. I think for the price today on this one, so this one, they say it's 35% off, so $279. But like I said, there's another one that is $249, but I would get this one because it's got more memory, more storage, and a faster processor. And you can never go wrong with that. So for $30, it's kind of a no-brainer to get all of that with it. And yes, Jacob, I got the I got it all. It's all mine. Actually, it's funny, that Game Boy box, I got that at an estate auction. So it came with it was a whole lot of a whole bunch of stuff, so I sold off most of it. But that box, believe it or not, that box is worth money. It's in immaculate condition, and it's like a legitimate box. So I'm really happy with that. Yeah, so CF, I have the M2 also, and same thing. Like I am just amazed by this thing. I have yet to find the end of the battery on it. I mean, I've never gotten a low battery message on it. I've gone days sometimes with it. Yeah, and that's generally what I've been doing with my Steam Deck too, is like pick it up and play it for a little bit. I'm actually playing a few games that I haven't had time to play because I just haven't had time to sit down at the computer to boot them up. But yeah, this is a good little Chromebook. So, it does all the web apps perfectly fine. The trackpad isn't spectacular on it. I think I noted that in my review. It feels a little cheap. You can see it's not, maybe I can adjust the sensitivity on it. It feels a little overly sensitive and a little jumpy. Let's take a look and see if we can adjust that. Touchpad. Now I'll slow it down a little bit more. Yeah, it's a little better. Yeah, the trackpad's not great on it. But you know what, though? If I was paying $279, I'd be okay with it, right? Yeah, and Corey makes a good point, too. The ARM Chromebooks are better for the mobile games by far. But, you'll find games that work fine, too. So you saw, like, Among Us worked fine. Some games port over great. Let's take a look at another one here. Let's do... let's go over to games. We'll just do, like, the top free. So we did Roblox. That worked. Or not, not Roblox. Among Us. Genshin Impact is one that I don't think works. And it takes a while to like, these games download quick initially, then you got to download a whole secondary pack of stuff. Here it is, Crossy Road. This will work pretty well, too. This one's already installed on it, too. Enter my age. Ugh. I'm gonna hold on to 45 as long as I can. But, it's fine. A lot of the casual stuff works fine. And it's got nice stereo sound on it. It has 2 upward firing speakers. As Chromebooks go, it's a pretty good deal. I'm pretty happy and comfortable recommending this one as a good deal. And you got the touch screen also. The touch screen bounces a little bit. You know what I mean? Like it's not built like a luxury item, but so you should check out the video I did on Parallels running on the MacBook. I just did that one a few weeks ago, and it's looking pretty darn good. It may not be quite where Intel is just yet for this sort of thing, but it's getting close. Now, the other thing you can do on the Chromebook, and I've got this controller here. So this is my favorite controller of all time, the 8BitDo Pro 2. And we reviewed this previously also. I'm going to switch it into, right now it's in switch mode. I'm going to put it in X input mode and see what happens here. So let's boot it up, and we're going to put it into pairing mode. And then we're going to go over to my settings and pair it up. Let's see if it finds it. There it is, 8BitDo Pro 2. And this is on sale today for $48. It's got a built-in rechargeable battery. What I love about this controller is that it works with the Nintendo Switch. It works with the PC. It's one of my favorite controllers ever. It has a lot of customizations that you can do with it. Check out if you go to the product page, you can see the review of it. And the Switch here will switch modes. So right now it's in X input mode, but it supports direct input. It's got a mode called A, I think it's for the Mac. And then it's got a switch mode, so you can and it shows up like a Pro controller on the Switch. And you've got analog triggers, analog sticks. It's like a hybrid mashup of a Super Nintendo controller and a PlayStation 1 controller. So it's exceptionally well balanced. They used to have, I don't think they're selling this one anymore. This was the older version of it that was kind of like a, just in Super Nintendo form. It was fine, but it felt very compact to me. And this one, similar design, but it just is so much more comfortable. So I really like this one. Yeah, the Inspiron 14, I didn't include that in my deal list just because I don't have it in, I have to have these things on hand to be streaming on Amazon. That's kind of the rule. But yeah, that's a nice computer also. Dell's been doing a lot of good stuff. Dell went private. And when they went private, which I think was back in 2015, I don't think they're public again, are they? They revamped their entire industrial design department. Yeah, they're privately held. And there's a C-class common stock now. But in 2013, they went private. And you can see that pivot in the quality of their products. They went from being very commoditized to being a lot, up there with Apple and the other companies. They really focus back in on their industrial design. Yeah, I would agree with this also. The RAM on the Mac is important for doing virtualization for sure. All right, so now this controller is paired up. And what I can do, why don't we do a little GeForce Now real quick? What do you say? So I can actually play some games on this. And if you have like Game Pass, that'll work on here too. So let me go GeForce. But just to show you how the controller links up with the system. And the controller will work on not only Chrome's browser, but it works on the Android games also. And bear with me for a second here. It's got to log into my account. Oops. Maybe I'll do Game Pass. Might be quicker to get into it. Enter your email to log in or create an account. I think I have to log in with my, I got to log in this way. Okay. I'm going to do the other one. So let's do, hey, what's going on with this? Is Xbox.com play? Yes, Xbox.com/play. And just give me 1 second here to log in. And I will show you what this is doing. Yeah, I think, as far as laptops go, the M2 MacBook Air, in my opinion, minus the fact that it's not obviously an Intel-based machine, so there will be compatibility issues with it under that circumstance, but it's a lot better than it was. And I did a video on parallels recently, and you can find that here on Amazon, but also on YouTube. And I found that when you factor all of these different things in, the M2 MacBook Air is almost the perfect laptop, right? It's like it achieves everything that you want out of a laptop in that it is thin, it's light, it performs exceptionally well, and it has like really, really good battery life. I don't think you can find a better collection of features, because it's usually like, thin, light, or thin, high-performing, high battery life, pick one, right? Long battery life, pick one. But in the case of the MacBook Air, it's all of the above. The only thing that I think hinders it a bit on the gaming side is just the lack of compatibility. So, until more game developers start looking at the M1 as a platform to port their games over to, you're not going to see that console experience Whereas, although it's not simple to port a game to a PC, the fact is both of the major game consoles are running on essentially an x64 code base, so it's easier, especially on the Xbox side, to make a game work on the PC. All right, so what I have here is my Game Pass account, which, by the way, I'm going to have to start paying monthly for. I bought years ago, like literally years ago, I bought a couple of, they had this promotion where you could convert your Xbox Gold to Xbox Game Pass Ultimate. And so I spent $120 and I got almost 3 years of Game Pass Ultimate for that price. But that 3 years is almost up. So that's it. All right, so I got my game controller attached, and we are streaming over Wi-Fi to see what we get here. And yes, it looks like they are doing an update to the Quest headset. That's another thing. I was playing around last night, 2 nights ago. So my kids were at some Halloween museum thing at a zoo. Long story, but I had time in which there was nobody around, and so I booted up my gaming PC with my favorite game, No Man's Sky, and I was using my VR headset. I started a new No Man's Sky game just because my save game was from like the original version of the game, and so some things are not totally functional. Now, what you're seeing here is Game Pass running on this. So this is not going to be indicative of what this machine is capable of, but it gives you an idea as to, with a Chromebook, if your streaming service supports a web browser, you can take out your controller and play the game. And what I love about Game Pass is that you get the game on all platforms. So this game is synced up with where I last left off on my Xbox. And then let me turn the volume down here so I don't get hit with a copyright strike. And then if I were to come back to my Xbox later, any progress that I made on the Chromebook here is going to carry forward there. But here you go. I mean, I've got, the controller here working. It looks good. And one thing about Game Pass streaming versus some of the other platforms is that it's a lot more forgiving when it comes to bandwidth. So the quality of the visuals is not going to be on par with GeForce Now, but it doesn't use all that much bandwidth. So it functions a lot better. But it works pretty good. So that's another kind of use case for these Chromebooks, is that if you wanted a fun little game streaming solution, you can grab one of these. You can even stream games from in your house. You could do like Rainway or Moonlight, and just run a game streaming session on a laptop while you're sitting on the couch, and you don't have to buy another gaming laptop. Oh, you can still transfer in. I should look at that. See, I'm like, I got to see if there's like I don't mind paying for a full year if I make it make it worth it. Roger P is here. Hello there. Let's see where the HP is here. Is it booted up yet? Oh, it looks like it's ready. Yeah, we'll take a look at the HP next. Yep, looks like we're ready to go on the HP. Now, the HP is a whole different story because the HP is a Windows machine and it's running with a Ryzen processor, so you have a shot at actually running some of these games on it. But, for a $280 Chromebook now, and this is true of any, cheap computer, is most of them are able to handle game streaming quite well. So you can boot them up. We're on battery right now. We're using the Wi-Fi. I'm on Xbox Game Pass. So back in my day, there was one TV in the house, right? So like if my sister was watching TV, I had to wait to play Nintendo. But now with your laptop, you can log in, play your Xbox game. It'll be right where you left off when you're done. The Steam, yes. Those still work, right? I mean, I think because they're just like dumb streaming clients. And there's also so I reviewed the Chrome base. I did a review of that one. And Lenovo's got a new Chrome box coming out soon, too. I saw that at an event recently. Roger P wants to know, what is my opinion of the NVIDIA 40 series? I heard it's great. I don't know if I have a need for one, but if you want the best performance, that's where you need to go. And Lyle just got the new VivoBook S15. Was that on sale today? I think there's a bunch of Asus laptops on sale today. It looks like my spammer is back. How about that? Okay, so let's take a look at the HP now. So we'll quit the game. But just gives you a sense as to some of the things you can do on a cheap Chromebook. And I've always recommended these as, I think like for IT people, they're also really helpful because you want a full computer, but you don't want an expensive one, right? So here you've got your Linux environment. You can do, a lot with it, and it just works. And today it's on sale. So there you go. So $280, good deal. All right, let me go pull up the HP. And I'm pretty sure that the HP that I've got here is close to the one that is on sale. It's got the same processor on board. Now, one thing to note with Windows computers these days, because people get them and they hear the fan going, right? Like this happens all the time. So they get the laptop and they're like, the fan doesn't stop running. The reason is that when you first get your computer, there's a metric ton of updates that come through. So when the computer first starts up, for the first, depending on what you're doing with it, probably for the first couple days, you're going to hear the fan going because it's got usually a whole bunch of, here, I'll show you. We'll go into Windows Update and I'll just show you how much is on here. It's actually got some pretty good bass. I just heard that Windows ding. Sounded pretty beefy. Yeah, so this is actually tame for a Windows laptop as far as updates. But you can see it's got a whole big version update that is pulling down for Windows 11, and then it's got a bunch of drivers, AMD's drivers, all this stuff. And it just consumes an exorbitant amount of system resources, which is why these fans kick on. But what I wanted to do real quick is just show you, with just the built-in graphics, what you can do with one of these things. So, and then I got to run and pick up my kid. But let me go grab, I got to install the other browser on here too, but in the meantime, we're going to go grab Steam, and I'll just show you how things work on these AMD chips. And Intel's gotten a lot better too, so. But I've got Red Dead Redemption 2 installed on this little solid-state disk here. And we can install Steam here. And this machine, with pretty much the same configuration, is going to perform the way you see it here. It's got to get Steam installed here. Roger P wants to know, any laptop with a 1080p 360 hertz monitor? Not that I'm aware of. I don't know if anyone in the YouTube chat has any ideas on that. And Lyle says the VivoBook S15 is 0.2 milliseconds response rate. Wow, that's pretty bright. Ralph says CTL still makes Chrome boxes in a NUC form factor. Yeah, they're actually very easy to make as far as manufacturers go. And I see this a lot. A lot of the lower priced Windows computers will become a Chromebook or a Chrome box. So for example, the Chromebook Flex that we were just looking at, you will find Windows versions kind of in this casing that they put together. All right, so let me wait for this to update here real quick. And then we'll take a look and see how it all works. Okay, so let me log into my Steam account real quick here. Steam recently updated their interface too. All right, bear with me here. I just got to type in my two-factor code here. Okay, so now we can pop in. And one of the things that I like to do with Steam is I put my games on external SSDs for testing. And what's nice is that a game like, oh, there it goes. A game like Red Dead Redemption 2, which is like 100 gigabytes, you can put on an SSD, and then all you got to do is point Steam at it, and you've got a much better experience here. So let's go over to Settings, and we'll go to Downloads, Steam Folders. Click Add here. We're going to go over to, oh, the drive didn't mount, did it? This drive's not mounting. Let's see, we have to plug in a different cable. And I got plenty. Yeah, it seems to be mounting on. Let me go grab a different cable. Give me 1 second. We'll get a different cable, and that should work better. Got to find the right cable. And boy, do I have cables. That's not it. Let me try this one. If not, I got another one I can try out in a minute. And we'll probably do another live stream with this laptop a little later, because I have a bunch more, there it goes, a bunch more tests to run on it. So Roger P wants to know, what is my, like a Raspberry Pi versus a Chromebook? You know, my only issue with the Pi is that as good as they are, they don't perform well as web browsing computers. Like if you look at the performance of the Pi when you're using the Chromium browser, the Pi is just not very quick, so it feels very sluggish. All right, so here's Red Dead Redemption 2. Now you saw what happened there? When I connected the external storage, it all just populates. So you do have like a short installation process for some of the dependencies, but it's not all that much. And we'll say continue. Yeah, I think on pricing, it's always important to do your homework. So what I try to do when I do these streams is I look for things that I know are legitimately a good price. So for example, like I think what you're going to see out of this laptop here with this particular game, you know, for its price is a pretty good deal. Oh, I forgot to connect my game controller here, so let's get that going while we're getting this configured here. So I'm going to turn this on. I'm going to turn on my pairing here. And we'll just go over next input already. And we'll go Bluetooth, add device, Bluetooth, and 8BitDo Pro 2. And this should pair up here. Yeah, I think we're starting to see a lot of alternatives to the Raspberry Pi popping up. You know, what's worked for the Pi is that it's got such a great community around it that I think it's I think it's helping drive things a bit. And that's true. They're also in very short supply. For a while, you could get the Raspberry Pi 400 with the keyboard attached, but yeah, the traffic cone, that's the Chrome thing, right? Or because they have one that looks like a traffic cone with the display attached, which was the one I reviewed. All right, let's see what's going on with the controller here. Looks like our Bluetooth did not pair up. There it goes. Okay, let it load up here. All right, let's wait for this to come up here. I do have to adjust the settings real quick on it, but Brenda asks, looking for a monitor to add to my laptop. Any suggestions? I want to watch 2 monitors like I do on my hard. Okay, so 2 monitors. You have a lot of options on that. My personal pick, and this is what I use. I have LG monitors. I have 4K monitors. So I've got where my Mac plugs in. I have 2, and actually there is one LG on sale today. So if you go in on Amazon and do a search for, I'm not sure what your price range is, but there is one. At least I saw it earlier. I don't know if it's in stock or not. Yes, the LG 27UN850. That one is really nice. I use that on my desktop. It's not as, I mean, you could buy more expensive, brighter monitors, but it works fairly well. So all the LGs I found to be really good, and they have high review scores too. There's another one which I have not tried. The LG, wow, it's $229. Do I have that one? No. This one's HDR. The LG 27UK500B. Here, let me pull it up on screen here for you. Do I have my vMix thing here? But those LG monitors I think are really good. Any of them, to be honest with you. But I like the 4K, and the reason is that your computer will do something called scaling, where it will double up the pixels so things look sharper. So for my Mac, I have 2 of those LG 4K displays paired up. Oops, no. All right, so let's go in and adjust the settings here. We got to go full screen and all that good stuff here. So Roger says, if I don't actually play Overwatch. I should probably get into it. I kind of run my stuff. But hopefully, Brenda, that answers your question. But yeah, my personal pick, and this is just my personal preference, are the LG monitors. I've had Samsung monitors, but believe it or not, like they're all good for a while, but I've had trouble with all of them, like in different kinds of troubles. Like my first one was a big one. It died. The second one that I've got is this widescreen one that I use upstairs. It still works fine, but every once in a while the speakers stop working on it. I got to pull the power and reset it. And then I have another one on my desk. It was a gaming monitor, and half the display sometimes gets distorted, and I can't figure out why it's doing that. But the LGs have been solid for me throughout. And I have an LG television also, so I've just had very good luck with the LG monitors. So yeah, and I've done reviews on them, but I would definitely do a search on there for the LG monitor. Okay, what I'm going to do here is turn this up to 1080p, and we're going to go full screen. For whatever reason, whenever I switch between systems, things get funky. And then we're going to go and turn off VSync. And we're going to set our quality level at the lowest. And I got to leave in about 10 minutes, unfortunately. Okay, so there we go. All right, so now, and thank you for I got some new followers on Amazon I want to thank. I have Corey, Brenda, S. Carey, and Alan. So thank you all for the follow. Yeah, I pop up on Amazon all the time, and I do these streams where we mess around with all sorts of nerdy things. All right, we're almost there. If you're watching on YouTube, every 55 minutes or so, the YouTube stream goes out. They don't like me streaming at 4K for some reason. Alan Power is looking for a laptop that will last. You know, it's tough because they don't make them like they used to, right? And generally, the ones that I have the most experience with over the long term are the Apple laptops. So I've had very good luck with my Apple laptops over the years. I'll put it that way. So for example, my M1 MacBook Air is still going strong almost 2.5 years later. I have one MacBook Pro that I got 10 years ago that's still functional. Like, it's amazing how long that thing's lasted for. So oddly, I'm not getting the performance that I'm expecting out of this. So there might be some settings we need to adjust here. So we're only getting about 17 frames per second at 1080p. We should be seeing more than double that. So I think there might be a setting that we need to adjust a little bit more on here. So let me pop out of here real quick. And I think there might be a power setting that might be limiting us a bit. So let's go in and see what that is set to. And that's the other thing with these laptops, is that sometimes you don't get everything out of them until you dive into their settings. And there could also be some drivers that need to get updated, so there's a whole bunch of things to look at. But I would always look at these like the Command Center, or on Lenovo it's the Vantage. Yeah, so right now it's set to balanced. So if I put it on performance, I think we might see it work better. Now, the reason why they don't go to performance by default is not because of battery life, it's because of fan noise. So that's often what drives it a little bit. And thank you for the kind words there, Spectrum. Much appreciated. And David Bound's got a MacBook Pro unibody. Yeah, so this MacBook Pro, check this one out. This thing is ancient. I installed Chrome OS Flex on it. Believe it or not, this thing still worked. And what happened was I stopped using it just because I got a new MacBook, and I had this news startup that we were doing, and somebody was using it. But this thing is easily 12 or 13 years old, I think. And it was a refurbished one, and it still works fine. In fact, when I turned it on, it had suspended itself to disk, and so it had been sitting dormant for like 10 years, and it was like a time capsule coming back to it. So yeah, the Apples, I think, once the one time the Apples were not good was that those 2016 MacBooks with the butterfly keys. Those were bad because I had a lot of trouble with that one, and that surprised me because I had such a good experience on that. But every once in a while, like Lyle here, you get a laptop that works, right? Like sometimes you get the right one, or it just happens to be in a good space and you're off and running. I will say that the quality that I have seen as a reviewer has been improving year over year. So, if you go back to like 2006, everything was cheap plastic, and now mostly metal and, So, and Lon Dog, thank you for the help on that. I appreciate it. Yeah, I got to go in and take that spammer out of there. I think one of the moderators might have gotten it. No, it's still there. Let me hide that user. Yeah, we get these spammers every once in a while that just pop in. Okay, so let's see if this does better now. Then I got to run and pick up my kid. Never ends. So here's a good question, and this is going to be a prediction of mine. I think that you're going to see a lot of Black Friday laptop deals this year because I think everyone is going to be overstocked. The chip limits are not what they were. Just look at the GPUs. Alan Power says, what is a good gen to buy more affordable options? So the good thing now is that the affordable stuff is so much better than it used to be. So I don't know, what your price range is, but for example, like this one on sale for $679, it performs really well. I mean, I'm struggling here a little bit getting this game to work at the performance level that I expect it to run at, given its processor. Because we're only getting about 20 frames per second. We should be getting about 30. So I got to dig into this a little bit more to see what's going on with it. But it could just be a driver update that it has to go through. But before it was at 17, now it's at 22. So that performance setting made a big difference. But what I would look for, Alan, is anything that is, I would look for anything with an Intel like i5 or greater, so an i5, an i7, i9. For AMD, I would look at like anything from the 4000 series up is good, and I think there's a Lenovo Flex with a AMD 4500 on it that performs really well. So you will find very well-functioning computers. What I would look for is a minimum of 8 gigabytes of RAM, 16 if you can swing it, and one of those chips if you're on the Windows side. And on the Mac side, I'll tell you what, those M1 Macs are really good. I'm really impressed with them. Yeah, so Alan, I think, I would always advise people to stick to the name brands like Lenovo, HP, Dell, Asus. You can't really go wrong with those, partly because there's some support behind them, which is important, but also because they just tend to have a better quality about them. And Alan is on my Amazon chat asking about PC prices. But I would say, AMD in the 4000 series or greater, I would look there. On Intel, i5, probably 11th generation at this point is where the good deals start. So I would look in that area. And try to stick to a name brand. And if you don't, Amazon typically has some good prices, but make sure it's shipped and sold by Amazon, because there's a lot of things that show up on Amazon that are different. And one thing to think about is the Chromebook. Like the one we were just looking at. That one's really, this Chromebook, it's not going to give you that much trouble. You got the USB-C port so you can dock it to stuff. And it's got an Intel chip. It performs pretty well. It's got 8 gigs of RAM, $280, not a bad deal. And 8 gigs on Chrome OS is very usable. So that would be my advice. And, get it someplace that that accepts returns. So if you're not getting the performance you're looking for, then trade it back in. But on the Intel side, honestly, like my desktop is still running. Actually, even my video production computer that's driving the stream, I'm on 9th generation Intel chips that are still perfectly fine. I think that's what I've got. I have an i9. Let me look and see which one I've got on this system. Granted, it's a desktop processor, but the computers are so much more powerful than, I have an i9 9900KF, which is a 9th generation chip. So if you're in like the 10th or 11th gen, you're in good shape. What I would look for if you're playing games like the i7 1165 G7 is a good chip, right? Because it's got the graphics capabilities. The AMDs have really good graphics built in typically. So, all right. Unfortunately, folks, I got to run and pick up my daughter. So let me go do that. But I'm going to try to come back on again tonight with a whole bunch of stuff that I've been finding. So I've been going through the Amazon deals and seeing what I have in the room here. So we'll be back on a little later this evening, hopefully. And we'll go from there. And, a couple more comments here. I'll just put these up real quick. Spectrum. Yeah, I always buy Asus motherboards. So I have an Asus motherboard running all of my computers at home. And I've been buying Asus motherboards for 20-something years. So they've been really good. Amazon is selling a 55-inch TV for $112. That'll go, yeah, that'll be quick. Yeah, container costs are coming down substantially. I've been following that. So yeah, you're going to see a lot of overstock soon, I think. And I've already seen it on, I have seen it on the lower end stuff first. So like all the cheapo Chromebooks, even this one, this one, this is a good deal, $279. I've seen like $99 Chromebooks, which are almost half price. You're just going to see a lot of liquidation. You're already starting to see it on the deals now. There's some good laptops today, much better than there was during the Prime Day. So. All right, everybody, I got a jet, pick up the kid, but I will be back later this evening. So if you're on Amazon, my wife is texting me to get my button gear here. If you are on Amazon, hit the follow button, and you'll get notified when I come back on. I'm going to have a bunch of odds and ends later this evening, so stay tuned for that. All right, everybody, I will catch you on the next one. Bye-bye.